Hi guys, today we are going to make this fun little interactive card. I love that when you turn the card, the bell rings or swings on its own. And this is such a real easy interactive card to make. I'm also going to show you how to color this beautiful gold color. I think it's really hard with Copics to get a true gold. So let me show you how I did that, and then I'll show you how to make this interactive card. All right, so this is our bell image, and these are the markers that I'm going to use: YR27, YR23, Y15, Y11, and Y00. And I am going to color this dark to light. These colors blend fairly easy, so I think they're an easier one to do. YR27 is your darkest color, so we're only going to use a very tiny bit of it, and I'm not going to put it on the ridges of the bell. And I'm just going to flick a very little amount along the side, and then I'm going to come in with Y23. I am going to put Y23 in this part of the bell, and I'm going to start carrying that flick out farther. Oops. And I'm going to come out even farther with my Y15. And this is Y11. And then a little bit of Y00. Now this is very light, but that's okay. We can come back and darken it up. You can't come and take it away. So now I'm going to take my YR27 and I'm going to come along in here and I'm going to start flicking in from this side. And I am going to put a little bit under this ridge here because this bell is going to cast a shadow on that bell. And while I'm here, I'm going to start, this is YR23. I'm going to carry this over a little bit farther. The Y15 blended that out really well. And I wanted to darken that up a little bit. This is the Y15. Now I want you to notice how I'm starting my stroke here and pushing that color towards the center of the bell. The reason we love Copics so much is that they blend, but they do that by moving the colors that are within the fibers of the paper. So we use those lighter colors to push those darker colors together. So now here we have one of our bells completed. So while we're here, let's take our YR27. Now, realistically, I probably should put a shadow here, but I'm actually not going to do that. This is one of the art choices I'm making. In real life, I think that would be shadowed, but I think it looks prettier without that shadow in this case. It's a personal choice. You can come back and do that. This is Y15. I am keeping it darker in the background because that is farther back than the front of the bell. If all of this sounds like mumbo jumbo, it's okay. That's a little bit of Y15, a little bit of Y11, and I think I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the pendulum of the bell, a little bit of a darker color, and this is just Y23. I'm making a lot of artsy choices here. Meaning not realistic. I guess I just added a little bit of a shadow there, and I'm going to blend that out with Y15. Here's a little bit of Y11. I didn't use my lightest colors because the inside of the bell would be darker than the outside of the bell. I did go outside the lines right here, and that's okay because we're going to cut this out, so it doesn't matter. I'm not even going to take the time to fix it. Alright, so let's do this bell up here. We're working our way up. I'm trying to decide. Okay, I'm going to count this as part of the rope and not the bell. I just looked at my original and I did that and it looked good. So this is along the side of that bell. And I did kind of outline it, and then I'm using that line to base my flicks. And that was YR27. This is the YR23. Now we're jumping down to our Ys. All right, now I'm going to scoop over here, or swoosh over here, and this is the YR27. And YR27, if you notice, has a little bit of red to it, and I think that's why this serves as such a good shadow color for the gold. I don't know, I think gold, brown, red, all in that same, depending on the type of gold, all work really well. This is my favorite color combination for gold. So that was Y15, and now I'm going to use my Y11 to blend these colors together. And I guess I didn't use my YOO that much, but that's okay. So I love that highlight here that's coming across the side of the bell. So now let's do the inside of this bell. I did in this bell, I looked at my original, I'm going to do it here. I did put that shadow in here to try to keep it as realistic as possible. I don't want to make the inside of the bell so dark. I think it would just be too much. So that's why I'm trying to keep it somewhat lighter colors. I mean, it's a Christmas card. You want to keep the colors fun. We don't want this dingy bell on your card. And because I'm going to go over this, I'm not going to worry about if I get yellow in here, but I'm going to use my Y11. Now, this shadow here is a little harsher than I like, so I'm coming back in with my Y23 along this line and just soften that up a little bit. And I might come in a little bit with my Y11. Okay. I like how that turned out. Oh, I'm going to make my, let's use I'm using my 23 to darken in that pendulum. And I like how that's the contrast that gives you the pendulum's dark and then it's swinging in this light bell. It's kind of nice. All right, our last bell, doing the same thing. Now in here we have to fuss a little bit with the greenery. That's why I started at the bottom. So I'm kind of just eyeballing a little bit where that is. And then the deepest, darkest parts, I'm just making that the YR27. And because these blend so nice, it's okay to just kind of tap on that color. And it works out pretty well. And it's okay if you get a little bit of yellow in the green. There is yellow in green, so it'll work out okay. But as a good habit, I try not to do that a lot. So I'm just tapping that color in here, and then I'm going to come to this side and I'm going to do the same thing here. So we're going to do the YR27, flicking in along the edges of the bell. Try to use the side of your pen. I was This is the Y15. The Y15 really brightens this all up. And I'm going to come in with my Y11. I didn't use my Y00 that much, and that's okay. I think they look gold. I think I'm happy with how they look, so I'm going to come back in here a little bit. I feel like I washed out my shadow with my Y15, so I'm coming back in here and adding a little bit more of my shadow. And then I'm going to take my Y15 and just blend that out a little bit, just so they're not harsh lines. And coming in here again with the Y27, YR27. And do that ridge, and then I think in here I'm going to do the Y15 and a little bit of Y11. And there we have the gold done. In my mind, the hardest part of this coloring. I'm just looking at the whole thing to see if there's any part that I want to blend out more or shade more. I think I'm going to do a little bit right here. I'm just darkening that up because this bell's behind there. I think that looks a little better. But I'm pretty happy with how all of that looks. Alright, so let's grab some reds and we'll tackle the bow. Alright, to do the red, I grabbed 5 markers. I grabbed R56, R39, R29, R24. Oh, I meant to grab R14. Oh, I'll grab. But the darkest part of the bow, I want to obviously make it darker, and then I want to create a highlight in each one of these sections. And one of the things that I really wanted to focus on was red can be kind of a pain in the butt to color anyway. So you really want to work this bow in sections. Don't work the whole bow at once. Let me show you what I mean. So here I'm going to start with my R59, and I'm not going to use a lot of this color. R59 is really, really, really dark. So I'm just going to put this in the part of the bow that is bunched up and in the center. And then I'm going to start coming out with R39, which is also very dark. Then I'm going to come in with R29, and I'm going to start here at the center, and I'm pushing that out. And R29 is the first one that's like a red, like the Christmas red that we're thinking of. So here at the edge of the bow, it's not as dark as the center of the bow, so I didn't use those other colors. I'm going to bring in a little bit of that R29. This is R24, and I'm using that to flick in. All right, I grabbed R14, and I actually grabbed R02 because I wanted it to be a little pinker. I like that. There we go. I think that looks nice. There we go. So we have one ruffle of our bow done. Now, I always go back and forth about what to do with the inside of the bow. Every ribbon is different. Some of them are darker, some of them are lighter. I don't really know, but I want, in my mind, I'm going to do what looks best, I think, and that is having some contrast. So I'm going to take my R14, and this is so small, I'm just going to fill this in with R14. This way, because this is so dark, it just provides a little bit of contrast without going, you know, crazy here. So let's turn this and let's start with our next little ruffle. And I'm starting with the R59 and the deepest, darkest parts. And R39, which definitely is a little bit more red. And the other one's more like burgundy. It's starting to turn red, but here's the R29, and because this is up, you know, in shadow with the way it's bent, I'm going up that side, coming along over here, and shading that up with R24. And lastly, well, maybe not lastly, but next with R14 mostly, and then I'm just going to do a tiny little bit with this R02. R02 is more of a pink color, but I like how that definitely provides the contrast here on, you know, with the rest of it. And so again, I'm just going to do the inside of this with R14. And I'm going to continue around here with my bow. Might do 2 of these together. That one's really small. Now, whether or not you work 2 sections together or 1 section, I think it depends on how fast you color and how confident you are with reds. If reds are still something that just intimidate you, then just do 1 section at a time. Take your time with it. If you've been coloring for a long time, you know what you can handle and how fast you work it before the alcohol evaporates. So I'm pretty confident I can get these shaded before the alcohol is gone. Trying to decide if there's an inside of that bow. There is a little bit. So all right, so we'll leave that. And this is R24. And R14. I'm going to do the inside of this bow here. And do the inside of this bow here. And flicking in a little bit, just leaving that tiny bit of highlight there, which I'm going to turn pink with my R02. Just to add that little bit of extra. So it's coming together. All right, now this one's a little tougher too because we have greenery on top of it. So again, in the deepest, darkest parts here, and I don't want to get this on my green because it will, red and green make brown. So when I put the green on top, we'd end up with a muddy mess. But also these colors are so dark, I don't even know if it would look brown. It would just look, you know, red, I guess. I don't know. So I'm coming in and doing my best to stay out of my greens, leaving some space for those. And this piece is farther back, so it is going to be darker. And so I am not even going to put any of the lighter colors on here. I'm just going to keep it darker. This is R29. And I'm going to add just a tiny bit of R24 to the end that sticks out here. So my highlight is over here on this ribbon. And this is my R24. I'm just going over these colors a little bit to make them I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good way to explain these. They are obviously red, R59 and R39, but they're very gray. They're very dark. And I like that Christmas red, which is very vibrant. So by adding in that lighter hue, or lighter value maybe just brightens it up just a smidgen so it's not so dark. All right. So now we're going to come back over here. This is R59 again. And this one's on top, so it should be lighter than that one we just did. This is R39, and I think that's all I'm going to do with that. This is R29, and I'm definitely making sure I start my strokes in the darker part and pushing them towards the center. That's going to move that color and blend it out. This is R24. And I'm going to put a little bit right here. This is R14. Now this is a bigger highlight, so I might actually come down here with R14 and leave a little bit of room for R02 in there. That's, I mean, your choice. You could just filled it in with R14. This is R02. I think that looks okay. I actually think, this is just me being a pain in the butt. I can't let little details go. I actually think I can get a small line of a shadow in there and have in that in the bottom part of the ribbon. I don't know. No one will notice that it's there but me, but that's okay. All right. So now we're going to put, this is like a little loop here, so we're going to put it on both sides. This is the R59. Real small because we don't want a muddy burgundy mess in the middle of our bow. So that was real tiny. Continuing out real tiny. Hopefully my hand's not getting in the way. This is the R29, so now we're going to start using bigger flicks. Pushing that color. I flick better away from myself, so I try to turn my paper. Some people flick better towards themselves. It just depends on the person. But if you're getting started, try it both ways and see which one works for you. This is the R14. And I'm going to put some R14 in here. And this is the R02. I'm going to fill that in right there. And I probably is a little light. So I'm going to come in here and darken this up just a smidgen. Okay. I don't know, it's coming together. It's starting to look like a nice, really pretty bow. I'm excited. It's a lot of, it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it when it's done. All right, this is the R59, and again, and this ribbon's bent a little bit, so I'm kind of extending those lines out to make it look like it's folded. So I'm just using the information that the artist gave me and carrying that on, and where it's, raised up, I'm imagining in my head that'll be where the lighter colors go. So even here, I feel like there's a little crease. And I'm just trying to put that in there. Now, if you don't do that, no one's going to know. I like challenging myself to add as many details as possible. Some people just want, 3, shades of red and go to work. I think that's fine. To each their own. I just like to add the details, and I like to show you where they are. And if you want to join me, great. My crazy loves company. If not, that's great too. This is the R14, and again, this is a bigger one, so I'm going to put some R14 there. This is R02, and I think I like going back in this R24 and adding that little line of shadow. Add a little bit more here. Wasn't as happy with the way this one blended out. I was talking, I guess. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, let's do this one that hangs down here. I'm going to turn this away from me. And again, this is pretty dark. So around the edges here, maybe I'm going to add a little bit of shadow in that nook. Yeah, I like that. Okay. This is the R39. And then we're coming in with the R29. And then we'll blend that out with R24. And then this is R14. Closing in those little gaps. So it's a little lighter there at the end. That's okay, because this is the part that's in shadow, not the end part. So I like how that turned out. All right, we're almost done. We've got this last, there's 2 sections, but I'm going to work them together because that one is so teeny tiny. So that works. So last time, R59. R39. This is the 29. And I think I'm going to bring this across here. This is the 24. This is the 14. And a little bit of the O2 to clean up those little white little spots. Now, this is again, I'm taking the R39. I just want to add in a little shadow here. So these two ribbons, just putting a little cast shadow in here. I'm trying to make that one look above the other one. And I'm also not super happy with how this blended out. So I'm going to come in with R24 and I'm just going to do a little bit more blending in this section here. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm just checking out any of my little sections to see if there's something I want to blend a little more. Just making sure everything looks like it's all the same ribbon. I don't have any one piece that looks really dark and anything else that looks really light. I am closing up a couple of my little highlights where looks like it's a little too much. So you can always make something darker. You can't always make it lighter. So I just want to kind of make my highlights look like they're all similar. So I was using R14 to do that. And I might come in here like this is a little bit more pink. I don't, some people like white highlights. I am not that person. I think white looks too, I don't know, too stark. It should be lighter, but it should not be like, you know. All right, so I also have some greens. I grabbed G46, G43, and G40. And I'm coming in here, and in the darkest parts, obviously, it's going to be darker. And on the stems, making it darker. And this one is more of, you're just, you know, flicking along the way it grows. You're not, you know, really, I mean, they're just little lines. So you're not really coloring like we did with the bell and the ribbon. So, and I like G46 is the one that looks more Christmassy to me. So I'm using more G46 than I probably would normally if I was coloring something, but I'm going to come in with G43 and I can always go back to my 46. And again, I'm trying not to go outside the lines inside the bell, or just taking my time real lightly. To do that. And we're going to cut this out, but I'm not going to cut out each and every single petal, or I should say leaf, on this greenery. So I'm going to kind of, you know, just go a general around it. So I really want to be sure that I'm being careful. The other thing I'm going to do is with my G40 is I'm going to fill in a little bit of this white around the ribbon, because I imagine that is probably green. I'm trying to look at my original. I did it along here too. And I just think it softens. G40 is really light. It's called dim green. So I'm just trying to take a little bit of the white out of the paper so this looks natural when I cut it out. And not, you know, I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it. And then I also got E44, E43, and E42. And that's what color I'm going to do this rope. So I'm just going to pick the inside of the rope. I'm not going to think about this too hard. And I'm just putting down a little bit of the E44. And then I'm going to come in with E42. We might not use the E43. This is a pretty small space. I just wanted to have it on hand if I thought I needed it. I don't think I'm going to. Okay. All right, so if you wanted to call this done, I think you are, you know, more than within your rights to do that. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. But if you are a glutton for punishment, like, you know, I am sometimes, you can grab your W7 and W6 and you can deepen some of these shadows a little bit. I think I'm just going to use my W7, but I have my W6 here if I think it's getting too dark. And I'm just coming in And in these folds here, I'm just darkening this up a little bit to make them look more like separate ribbons. Maybe you can tell me you liked it better beforehand. I'm not really flicking it on. I'm just adding, I would say, cast shadows, I guess, to these. And I'm not going to do a ton here, just a little bit. I noticed that this here, I don't know, but we're going to fill that in. I think that looks better. So just anywhere where one ribbon lays on top of another, I'm just coming in here and putting a little shadow in the deepest, darkest parts. Because we do have blending in there, this is just enhancing it and taking it to the next level. All right, I think that looks amazing. So you can tell me if that was worth it. Good addition, bad addition. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this off screen so I don't bore you to death, and I'll be back to show you how to make this bell ring. Okay, so I have this fussy cut, and I wanted to show you, see how I didn't cut out all of the little pieces between the greenery. First off, I think it would become too weak and they would fall off, but it would also just drive you absolutely insane by doing that. So don't worry about doing that piece of it. All right, so what I did was I already stamped my sentiment because this is glossy paper and it takes a little bit to dry, and I didn't want us to slow us down. And so what I'm going to do is put my bell where I want it to sit on my card. And then I'm going to take a pen and I'm going to hold it over the center of the bow. Oops, maybe I shouldn't have that on there. And put a little dot. No one's ever going to see that, so it doesn't matter what you use to do that dot with. And then I went through my stash and I found this tiniest little circle die that I had. It just needed to be smaller than a penny. So it's smaller than my penny. And I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cutting machine. All right, so now we can pop this out. This becomes recyclable. And what we can do is we can pop our penny back there. And then I went through my pop dots, my 3D foam adhesive, and I found one that was circles. You don't have to have one that's a circle. I did use one as a square, and it worked just fine. So I just thought a circle might help this spin even more. And I'm putting that on the penny, and then I can take my bell and place that where I want it to be on my card. And now I have a bell that will swing on my card. All right, and then the rest of this is gluing it together. So let me adhere this down into the card base. All right, so when I put adhesive onto the back of this, I did use some double-sided foam tape to give the penny a little bit more room to move. But I also was very careful not to put any foam near the penny because we don't want to restrict movement. That would, you know, defeat the whole purpose of making this interactive card. So I'm just removing all the release paper. And there we have our swinging bell onto our card. Isn't that awesome? Now you could call this done and go with it, but I really like to make cards that have a little bit of sparkle. So I'm going to take my, this is Spectrum Noir, but Wink of Stella, whatever you want to use. And I'm going to put just a little bit of glitter onto my bow for some extra shine. You could put it on your bells. I thought about that too because they are supposed to be shiny, but I decided I wanted my bow to be covered in glitter. And that'll just take a few seconds to dry, but I think that looks beautiful. Here is my original, and then the one we made in class. I really appreciate you guys tuning in with me. I hope you guys learned something, and we'll give this a try. Just a neat little element to your holiday cards. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you on the next card video.